What's up, and welcome back to Opposites Attract Podcast. This is Sonia Ramirez, your girl, and I'm sitting next to
Miguel Ramirez.
What's up, everybody? How was your day?
How was your week?
How was your life?
Going. And today, this podcast is brought to you by us because we bring you this podcast. So make sure you guys go to oppositesattractpodcast.com and share it with the people that you know. You can find all of our social media there. You can watch the podcast there. You can listen to it there. And you can also download our resource list. As soon as you go to our website, it'll pop up. And that's a list of books, videos, podcasts that we've listened to over the years that kind of helped us change our mindset. But definitely go to our website and click the support the show tab, and you'll see the links to help out the show on Amazon, on Trust Inc., and also Pinwheel. You guys can check out Pinwheel, which is one of our affiliates, and they have the best smartphone available for kids out there. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show, but you can use promo code OAPTEN on Pinwheel, all in caps. So what's up, babe?
What's up?
We're back.
We are back.
The next day. How do you feel? Like last night we recorded. Do you feel any different recording at night or in the morning?
Not really. I don't know. Like early, I prefer recording probably in the afternoon.
So not in the morning, not at night, in the afternoon.
It just depends. I always you have to bring it either way. So it doesn't matter whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening. The show has to move forward. So you got to get your mindset right. You got to drink some freaking coffee, do some push-ups, do whatever it is that you got to do to make this shit happen, right?
But I don't know. Right now I'm feeling like I like the morning better.
Really? Why?
Feels like I'm more ready.
Feels like you're more ready?
If it's the evening time, if you're tired, it's hard to fucking overcome that. Like, you can try and do your best.
Oh, no.
But it's there in the background.
Well, before we recorded our previous podcast, it was in the evening. I just got back from a birthday party. I had a few drinks, but not many. And I came home and I'm like, shit. And I'm like you heard me, like making noises, just trying to get myself up.
Oh, like yeah. You were trying to get yourself like motivated. Yeah.
And I went and I'm like,
you looking like Tom Brady on that Hertz commercial. You're like, let's fucking go.
I made me some coffee that was stronger than shit, and it did what it was supposed to do. Yeah. And I was good for the show. But that's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is like naturally. Like kind of like yesterday, you had to get yourself up. And so did I. Because I was already kind of coming. We were talking about in the beginning of the show, like my fucking lazy eye was already almost shut by the time the show started.
You're stupid.
I'm just saying.
Well, you know what it is too? I do have, my energy picks up in the afternoon. And it's the same. Like we've talked about this, right? About having sex in the morning versus the afternoon or in the evening.
Yeah.
And when am I at my
freakiest?
Best? Like it's like noon. It's like lunchtime.
Afternoon or in the evening?
Yeah. Yes.
And when am I ready? In the morning, in the middle of the fucking night. So I don't know.
It's just it all depends, you know.
We went off track on that one. Anyway, and we're back. So we got an empty house to ourselves this last night.
Very unexpected, by the way, because we would have planned some stuff out if we knew we were going to be solo.
Yeah.
But the kids just slowly disappeared on us.
And then we had a podcast, and make sure you guys check out the last podcast because Sonia did all of the editing back and forth, all the cuts between the two of us.
Why would you tell them all? What if it's all jacked up?
No, that's awesome. That's the first time that you've done it. How did you feel?
I liked it. I liked the switching the cameras.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like it's a story.
Yeah.
Right? In between.
It's helping tell the story.
Yes. And I like that. Like I was able to dial in, and it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Now, I don't want to get into it because nobody else is going to give a shit, but I maybe you can understand, like, if you have different cameras, not just one camera that's zooming in on different faces, if you have different cameras from different angles, it also affects how the shots look. You know, like if you have a camera that's straight onto you and straight onto me, it just looks different in the different shots. So that's why when you have more cameras, and I think like editing, you would like it because there's processes and a certain way to do things that make it more effective, or it's kind of like the standard, the thing that people know. Like you switch at every however many seconds because people's attention or whatever. But there's a lot of like artsy stuff where you can kind of make things unique and your own. And I think you would like it. Like if you really figured out how to do it, I think you would enjoy it.
Do you enjoy it? Because you're not artsy fartsy.
No,
or
but
is it a pain in the ass for you? Like it's not something that you enjoy doing.
I like doing it. I like figuring out the stuff. And I like the process. Like I do like finding out like what works best because of people's, the way they are. Like you got to switch it
Right.
Or whatever.
And when I was editing, like you were telling me to focus on the 3, what do you call them? Screens.
Yeah,
to
the
the
3
left.
cameras, the 3 shots.
And is that how you normally edit? Like you focus on the 3?
Well, like I was telling you, I've only done it a few times, So we've only just started doing this for like the last 3
but
episodes.
Is that how you
I'd have
feel
to do
more
it again.
comfortable?
I have to do it again because I've only done it twice.
Because you asked me to do it that way and I tried and I'm like, I'm not feeling it. Like this, it was more difficult. It was more challenging for me to do it that way because I had to pay attention to all 3 screens like I felt versus the 1.
Yeah.
And with the 1, when I'm watching us, have a conversation or a discussion, I was able to edit it much quicker and I was able to get into the story using the single screen. So it's like if you're watching this and you're a podcaster or whatever, you have to find really what works for you and what's going to make it more enjoyable for you. Because the other way, I was like, ooh,
it's kind of like going to the gym and boxing and like you're paying a little more to go to this other gym, but you're enjoying the other gym and you're using it.
Right.
Where you could be paying less to go to another gym that's nice or whatever, but if you're not going to use it, then you're just wasting money too.
And I think that's when you think about it, it has everything to do with everything in life. Like you have to find your passion in life when it comes to a career, right? Looking for what it is that you're going to do for a living. Figure out what brings you joy. Like what is it that you're good at and what is it that you love to do? Because when you find that, whatever that is, when you find that, that's where you're going to have a lot of success.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not going to be your first career, second career. Like I've already been in 2 businesses, 3 businesses.
Yeah.
Oh,
we've had a few businesses going on 4 or 5 businesses.
Yeah. And it's still like it was fun. It brought in the income. It paid the bills at the time. But it's like, I can tell that this isn't my end all. Like this, the business isn't the one that's going to be it for me.
You know what's crazy? It's kind of funny because when you really think about it, like Trust Inc. is our last business that we've got going, right? Mm-hmm. And now we're looking at something else that we're going to start doing that's completely different. But we're, like you guys know, we're always looking at something else, like the next business, the next stream of income or what we're going to do. And when you think about Trust Inc., it's like everything that we learned leading up to it.
Yes.
We put it all together for Trust Inc. Because we did like the baby hats thing,
which was a lot of fun.
And with the baby hats thing, we ended up learning how to make a sweatshop.
Right? Yeah, and we got really good at it.
We did. But it was kind of like, we say sweatshop and it sounds funny or whatever, but it was more than anything like figuring out a process of how to do things for our business.
Right.
Like I made the spreadsheets for it. Like that was the first time I ever had to like figure that kind of shit out. Uh-huh. But then with Legal Shield, we didn't really have to do
Hold up before we move forward. So if you have a partner and you two are looking at building a business together, you have to know each other's strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. Because Miguel perfected, like we used to make tutu dresses, tutus, hair accessories, all of that. We ended up doing, it got to the point where people were hiring us to create the flower girl dresses for their weddings.
Flower girls and weddings and stuff.
And I started actually going into boutiques, pulling doors and selling.
Dude, we didn't fuck around. We also went to like a wedding convention in Phoenix.
Yes.
We would go to First Fridays and set up booths and shit like that.
Dude, that's so crazy. We forget about, we've been together for so long, but it doesn't feel like we've been together that long. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so when really think about everything that we've done together and things that we created together, it's pretty cool. But we always stayed in our lane. Like, you weren't going to be making no damn tutu dresses.
No.
Or the hair accessories. Though I remember, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I remember
You're fucking put
you
me on
brought to
blast.
my attention, like, hey, they're having this
I brought
class.
it to your attention.
Yes, you did. You brought it to my attention that there's this class taking place on how to make handmade bows.
And you know what? It wasn't, it's crazy because it's one of those things, like, if you want the information, if you want to figure out how to do it, you're going to get it. And now that I think about that, it was a class on how to make bows.
Right.
That I had found, and we were living on the other side of town at that time.
Yes.
When I think about it now, that class was over here somewhere. We fucking drove like an hour almost to go take a fucking class on how to make bows.
Yeah, I remember sitting there and Miguel was the only man, right? He was the only man. And the women were like, how did you get your husband to come? I'm like, it was his idea. They're like, what? And I told them, I'm like, we have a business. You know, we wanted to start making bows and he found the class.
I'm like, what's up, ladies? I'm here to make bows.
But that's the thing. Like, that's what I enjoyed and that's what I was good at. And so that's what I did. I made the tutus, and there are times where you helped cut, you know, but
we did,
I created all the tutus. We should put some pictures up on our Facebook page.
It was like
so you guys can see, because they were really, I mean, we were selling tutus at First Friday for $75 a pop. And they were so nice that a few of them got stolen.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, chasing people down the fucking street.
Jeez.
But you know, like you said, staying in your lane, it's funny because I know for a fact, when I think back at it, when it came to the tutus and the colors and like what we were going to make, that was all you. Like, you would be like, all right, so we're going to do 5 of this color. We're going to do 3 of this color. We're going to do 5 of this. And we're going to use these 4 or 5 colors and it's going to look great. And then the hat's going to be like this. But when it came to, all right, well, we're going to make the tutus.
Right.
That was all me.
The first tutu I made, okay, like, it was difficult to get the same length over and over and over again, right?
Yeah, because if you think about it, you want the tutu, like the bottom of it all even.
Right. Yeah. And not only that, but you want a certain quality, right?
Yeah.
And that's everything. And the Swarovski crystals that we use, like, all of that made it look good, the material, the quality, the length of the, you know, you like got all that.
We had the measurements, the inches, like for a long tutu, a short, all that stuff.
All the detail that went into that, it was all like you.
Yeah. No, we had I remember we had the dinner table, and we had a bin that was just the size of the roll of tulle for the tutus. And then we had, so that was like taped to the table in a spot where it couldn't move.
Right.
And then we would just put the roll in there, and then we would stretch it out, and then we had a cutting board that was taped on the other end of the table. Right. And it had a line in it. Right. That we had, like, we scored it, like, kind of cut it over until it had a nice groove in it.
Yes.
And then I marked it with a black marker so it would have a black line there. So then we would just roll it out, and when it got to that black line, just slice it. Yes. And roll another one, slice it, and it was just fucking one after the other. We
had tulle everywhere, like rolls of tulle. And I remember you made me a shelf.
That's
or
right. I made you a rack. It was a rack for all the different color tools.
Slide all the tulle on there.
Yeah, you just like pull the bar out and slide more on there and slide it back in and just keep working.
Isn't that crazy?
Dude, I forgot about that one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was that, and then just like figuring it out. Like, we had to figuring out where we're going to order the crystals from, because, you know, when you start a business, when you do anything, like right now, we've been talking recently about like actually starting that Turo business that we talked about before, where you're renting cars and stuff like that. But even that, like, the first thought is, what are we going to do different? What's going to make us different? Like, maybe we could put something in the car, a pack of gum, or like whatever. Like, it's $1. It doesn't cost me much.
What's going to set us apart? Yes,
something that other people aren't doing.
Right.
So when it came to that business, it was the same thing. It was like, so what are we going to do? Because other people make tutus. Right. Other people make hats. What's going to make ours different than theirs?
That's right.
And that's what it was, the process and the quality of the stuff. Because we had flowers that felt like real flowers. Right. It was crazy. We did pretty good.
And not only that, but I remember us it's funny because when you think about it now, we created events in our own home. Do you remember that? We had fashion shows, and we would reach out to family and friends who had little girls who wanted to be our models, and you were our DJ. Yeah. And the parents absolutely loved it. And we had everything set out on our kitchen from the different sets, because every tutu came with a hat, right? Yeah. And then different matching accessories and all of that. And so it was so cute because all the little girls, different ages. I mean, we had some that were barely even walking all the way up to 8 years old.
It was like a dress up party, but then you could buy the stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But that's genius. Like, thinking about it, I'm
so
like,
you know
we
what?
did pretty good.
So I want to ask you, like, we talk about all these things that we've done for the baby hats and all that. What happened?
It became more of a job. It wasn't fun anymore. Like I think.
Do you think the kids like outgrew it, and then it just wasn't? Well, because when we were doing it, it was something that
it wasn't kids. It was Audrey. We had a little girl. Audrey came, and she was my baby. She was my doll.
Look, I'll tell you what happened.
She was my live doll.
We had Audrey, and at that time, Sonja would watch the Housewives. The housewife shows.
Was that it?
That's what it was. And I remember you were telling me, you're like, oh, I've seen, so-and-so, or they just had a baby or some shit, and they had these really cute headbands or hats or something. Uh-huh. And then when I saw it, I was like, that's some bullshit. They paid how much for that hat?
Yeah.
I was like, we could fucking do that.
No, seriously. Is that where it came from? I think
that's kind of what it was. Because I remember you telling me something about some housewife that had a baby, and you showed me.
It was Teresa from Housewives of New York or New Jersey. One of those. Yeah.
They're like, they paid $60 or some shit. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? I was like, I could find those on eBay. Hold on a second. Look, check this out. So, and then the business started. But like, I wonder if.
Was it when we got the kids?
You know what?
Yes.
I think so.
Because I remember Randy wearing a tutu for a birthday party.
That's right.
I think we were overwhelmed.
Maybe that's what it was.
We were overstressed.
Because
there was a lot happening.
We did have the kids when we were making tutus.
Yes, now that I remember, because they were going to First Friday with us.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was
a good time.
In between 2009, 2011. When we started that sweatshop. No, when we started that business. I mean, we got banners made.
Yeah. I mean, we have it somewhere. We have a business card somewhere.
With Audrey's little face on it wearing our
hat.
Yep, our hat.
That's cool.
It's nuts, right?
We got to look for that.
And now it's like, so because I was thinking about that event, and now we are here today with the podcast, and we are still, you guys, a podcast, there's so much that goes into it. There's so much.
Listen to you fucking edit one episode. There's so much.
Shut the hell up. Dude, who's putting the event together? Because I know you're not putting this event together.
What event?
Our Opposites Attract event that's happening here in Arizona on May 21st.
Ain't nobody heard about that. What's that all about?
I'm excited about this event. So it's like kind of meet the host, but it's Opposites Attract, presenting the 5 love languages.
That'll be cool.
And so my friend just opened a kava bar, and her and I were talking, and I'm like, hey, would you be okay with me having an event here? And, I can bring in some business for you. And, it's a win-win.
Be fun.
And she was like, oh, that would be so great. And so then we put it together. And so I don't know if I should put the location, but you do have to buy tickets. So if you go to Eventbrite and search Opposites Attract Pod, you'll find it. Or you can just find us on Facebook.
We're going to post it in the group.
Yes.
So
and they'll find it in the group, because I did post it in the group, and right now the tickets are only available for Facebook members. So if you live in Arizona and if you're available May 21st, become a member in our Facebook group page, and you'll find the event. But there's only room for 30 right now. That's what we're taking. Yeah. So it's 15 couples.
And this is the thing. The show is going to sell out. Yeah. I'm just kidding.
It's
this is our first show. We don't know what the hell is going to happen.
I do know what's going to happen. I'm planning it.
But the truth is, we're going to open this up to everybody, not just the podcast.
Right. Yes.
So obviously, we would rather fill it up with people that listen to the show, with friends of ours. So make sure you guys check that out, because once the tickets are gone, if you guys don't get them and we open it up to the public, then
we're
those will be
thinking of
gone.
doing this monthly, but
yeah,
we're not, it's not out yet. It's not 100%, but it's going to be a whole lot of fun. There's going to be giveaways and a lot of interaction and exercises for you and your loved ones. So
it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Be a good time.
For sure. And it's going to be in the evening too. So get the sitters, get everything ready so you can come out and have a good time with your loved one.
Yeah. So like we talked about, the kids are out of the house. We'll be picking them up a little bit later today. But, a couple weeks ago, I took them. So we've talked about on the show before where like the kids, we have that cart for them with all their candy, and they sell candy around the neighborhood. They sell stale candy all over the neighborhood, and then they have to give refunds and all that stuff.
Our kids, we are raising our kids to understand business, entrepreneurship, and how to make your own money. And we've been very open about
everything. When it comes to money, we talk about everything.
The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it.
Yeah.
Do you remember growing up as a child and your parents being open like that about money, or was money more like a stigma, like something that nobody talked about? Do you recall? Do you remember?
So as a kid, I remember the differences between money, because I grew up with my dad and I would go visit my mom. And not that they would talk about it, but I could tell the difference. Like I could tell that my mom and my mom's side of the family had a little bit more money than my dad's side of the family. But I don't think they really ever talked about it.
Educated, talked to you about assets, liabilities, and maybe, stuff like that.
Maybe if I grew up with my mom, and then maybe it would have came up more.
Gotcha. Yeah, because your grandmother and grandfather owned salons.
Yeah,
so they were entrepreneurs.
Yeah, they did well. What I do remember, the conversations that I would hear around me about money were not good. Mm. It was owing somebody money. It was being in debt. It was all of that. I don't remember really like, hey, we're putting money away so that we could do something. Or, hey, we need this money so that we could try and do this later. Right. Or whatever. You know what I mean? It was always like, shit, I don't have enough.
Right. Yeah, I guess that was the same with me as well. Though my mom, I remember once I turned 16, she actually took me to open up a bank account, because I was working at the age of 14. Like she had me working summer jobs. And so, maybe that's where the work ethic and the hustle, came from, because my mom, I would help her pay the bills, so when I would get a check, I would help her, pay bills. I mean, she was a single mother. So
you would go to work and like give your mom money to help catch stuff up.
Yep.
See that? Yeah. I never had to do, I would have to make my own money for things that I wanted, for certain things at a certain point, but it wasn't like I had to help. I remember like stressing over certain bills, but it wasn't like, hey, you need to bring some money in or whatever. At a certain point when I got older, and it wasn't really like, it wasn't because we didn't have the money. It was more because I was being a dipshit and not like taking care of business in school and just rebelling as a teenager. It was like, well, if you don't fucking do shit around here, you're gonna have to get a job.
Gotcha.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. And then I remember my mom like selling Avon and, hustling and stuff like that. But I did know that we were I knew that we didn't have enough.
It's crazy because it's kind of a combination of everything like rolled into us. Mm-hmm. Because that hustle part, like I saw all of that growing up too. Like my dad's hustle side.
Right.
Fucking always selling something. He would sell movies. He would sell shirts. He would throw parties. It was whatever to make some money.
Right.
And that obviously transferred, to me. Right. And like your mom's hustle side obviously transferred to you. But then it's the other part that we kind of paid attention to and, did a little bit differently.
Right. If you could go back and change anything, would you?
No. I don't think, no. Because I don't know if our thought process or my thought process would be the same. I think it takes seeing everything from all sides to make up this perspective on money, I think. I don't know.
Right. No, like that's what scares the shit out of me when it comes to our kids, because you and I, we grew up witnessing the struggle in every relationships,
Yeah.
finances, right? And
Yeah.
then the way we were raised, like we were in it.
Yeah.
And we survived and we came out even stronger.
Right.
Because of what we learned, whether it was not what not to do or what to do, right?
Yeah.
Well, our kids
Don't know shit.
are growing up with none
Fortnite.
of those struggles.
Yeah.
Are you know?
I know we talk about
and
it.
it's like, how do you install
Okay.
the grit?
All right.
So you got something to
I got
say?
something to
Because you're
say.
interrupting me, man.
Go ahead. Go for it.
No, now I lost it. I lost it.
How do you give them that grit?
You know, like, yeah, because they're not struggling. You know, though we do not buy them everything they need. We don't
Right.
do that.
Right.
I mean, not everything they want. You know, our kids, they have what they need and more. They have more
than they need.
what they need.
Yeah.
But it's not like we over bombard them with gifts and everything that they want.
Every time we go to the store, they get something.
You know,
No.
name brand this and name brand that. When they want something, we talk to them about what are you going to do to earn the money so that you can buy the thing. We talk to them about saving.
And is it worth what you're looking at spending on that? Like, look at what you're buying, and is it worth that money for that?
Right.
You know, because a lot of times you're looking at something, it's like, it's not even worth spending that.
But what were you going to add?
What I was going to say is, like, on our last podcast, you were talking about how you had that moment where you were in the kitchen and the country music was playing and the kids were cleaning up and I was cleaning up, or we were getting ready to have dinner.
Audrey
right?
was singing.
Audrey was singing.
Joey was playing with his transformer on the table.
And you're talking about like the struggles that we went through, and it made us who we are today. Like some of those hard times, they kind of shaped us into who we are. And how you were having these feelings, and when you were having those feelings at the same exact time, I was having the same feelings. Like I heard Audrey singing, like everybody's kind of pitching in and doing their thing. I was like, this is fucking fairy tale shit. Like this is fucking cool. But my thoughts kept going after your thoughts stayed there. And
we only know this because we talked about it.
And immediately after that, I started thinking about, and I'm looking at the kids, and I started thinking what you're thinking. I was like, we went through some shit, and we're ready for a lot of shit that comes up because of what we went through. And then that saying came into my head where it says, good times or hard times make hard men make good times make weak men make hard times. And that's the cycle. And I was just kind of looking at everything, and I was like, if we were to go through hard times, I think we would be okay. Me and you would be okay because we're fucking fighters. But if our kids got older, would they be okay? Because if they wouldn't be okay, we're not doing our job.
Right.
And
that's tough to say because they're so young.
Look at the world that we live in.
Right. Yeah. Everything is so soft. Right. Everything.
No. Well, everything is so soft, and look at where we're headed. We're headed to hard times. Mm-hmm. Right.
Right.
And if they're not one of the ones that can survive the hard times, they're not going to make it. That's the fucking the shit that I was thinking right after that.
Oh my God. I'm in my happy-go-lucky bubble, and you are for a moment, but then you turn dark.
I'm just saying.
But I get it.
The thing
I
is,
get it.
It's not dark. It's being prepared. It's not fucking sticking your head in the sand when you got the fucking president looking like he's in a coma everywhere he goes.
Okay,
and there's all kinds of shit popping off everywhere.
And, so...
I'm just saying, look at the world that we live in.
Yes. And when it comes to that, it's just so hard to see things going that south. Do you understand? Like, it's so hard to go from being at the top of the world, right? Going, just knowing like it's so easy. If we're hungry, we just go to the grocery store,
so
right?
let's make pretend humanity isn't a graph, right? The beginning of humanity. And, we're living in caves or whatever's happening, and we figure out how to make a wheel, and we figure out some fire, and we figure out how to work together. And humanity on a graph is going up and to the right. And then we get to a certain point where we figure out civilizations and politics and a lot of some of these other things. And it seems like if you were to look at that graph, I don't know if that graph is still going up and to the right anymore. I don't know how long. I don't know if it's been going up and to the right for a while now. It might be coming back down. And what direction are we headed in? And when those things go up and down like that, you got to be ready for the downtime. You know what I mean?
Right. So the question, it sounds like what you're asking is, how do you raise kids that are courageous and brave and have the
huevos.
Yeah.
The grit, what you were talking
to
about.
continue to push through. And I think it's just leading by example. I mean, we can only speak from our own experiences, right?
Yeah.
And when shit happens, they're going to look to see how we respond and how we handle things when things are not going well. And that has to do with our relationship. That has to do when the kids are going through a tough time, because think about everything that we self-reflect on right now.
Yeah.
When growing up, and how our parents handled the hard times, how our parents handled tough relationships, how our parents handled having lack of finances or whatever it is. Did they lay down, or did they get up and did they do something about it? So it's like, it's almost, and our kids aren't going to realize their childhood, like what was good, what was bad, until they get to age 38, age 45. You know what I'm saying? Or, when they get older and they start to self-reflect on the life that they lived growing up.
You know what we should do?
And that's what's going to help to build them.
We should do another show with the kids and have them ask us questions. Kind of like when we talk about how we really don't know a lot about our parents, like before we were around. We should ask them questions. Like, how did they think we grew up? Like, how did we play with our friends? That kind of thing.
Oh,
like
that would be cool.
Because if Audrey wants to get a hold of her friend, she shoots him a text. Joey video calls his friend.
Oh my
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I would have to run to my friend's apartment.
Right.
Or scream down the hallway. You know? It was just different. Like, how did we play back in the day together?
Right. Yep.
That's
so, so it's just being very, I don't know. It's leading by example. Like, that's all we can do is just lead by example.
And I think that one thing that we've done, and, I'll share one thing that we've done that I think kind of helps prepare them for things that might be coming in the future that may not be good.
Mm-hmm.
But before I do, make sure you guys go to oppositesattractpodcast.com. Share it with the people that you know. Like I said before, you guys can see all of our social media there. We're at Opposite Pod on everything, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, everything. Just find us at Opposite Pod. And when you go there, you also see the Support the Show tab. When you click on that, it'll take you to our Amazon link. And anything that you purchase through that link doesn't cost you anything extra, but it helps out the show. And if you search Opposites Attract Podcast on Amazon, you'll find our t-shirts, pop sockets, phone cases, different things like that. And you'll also, when you click on the Support the Show tab, you'll see a link to Trust Inc. And Trust Inc. is?
We are a nationwide mobile notary agency and signing agency. So if you're in the process of refinancing, purchasing, or selling your home, you can request Trust Inc. to be your signing agency.
And you can go to Trust Inc. directly by going to trustinkusa.com. We're also affiliates with Pinwheel, which is the best smartphone available for kids. They have call logs, GPS tracking. You can see all the text message logs so that you can know exactly what your kids are getting into. And they also have an app store where all the apps are picked by therapists, by counselors, teachers, people that have kids' best interest in mind. They don't have any apps that are going to suck their attention, games that makes them want to keep leveling up and getting a new color and a new character, and it just keeps them addicted. The only apps that they have available are things that are going to help kids out. Things that'll teach them music, teach them languages, help them stay productive. And if you guys want to give it a shot and you want to learn more, you can go to pinwheel.com and use promo code OAPTEN all together, all in caps, and that'll give you 10% off of a Pinwheel phone.
And if you would like to buy us a coffee, or in Miguel's case, a beer, 2 or 3.
We're drinking coffees today.
It's early, that's why.
Yeah.
You can go to
buymeacoffee.com/oppositepod. You can do that there.
Awesome. So earlier.
So what I was saying is, one thing that we do, I think, that is different from what happened with us, is that, like we said, we do talk about everything.
Right.
You know, because as a kid, I remember like the money talks, but they weren't directed to me. You know, like I would hear the money talks that were happening between other people. And It was like, we don't have enough money for this, or I don't know how we're going to pay that, or I owe so-and-so money, or whatever. But it wasn't like they were talking to me about it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Where with us, we talk about it between me and you, and they hear us, but we also talk to them about it so that they understand what's going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? And an example of that was here, like a couple weeks ago, like I was saying earlier in the podcast, the kids have that cart with their money, and they've had all this money that they've earned, that they've made. So they took money from their bank accounts and bought a bunch of candy. We got them a cart, and they would go around selling candy in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And we told them, if you guys want to make some money, or if you want money to buy something that you want, you need to make some money, stash some money, and then you can spend some money. But you always got to make some money, stash some money, and then spend some money.
Right, right.
That's just how it's going to go. Mm-hmm. And eventually what we decided is we opened up these new bank accounts, and we got them a bank account. And I was talking to the kids about, you know, how the banks work and like what we're doing, because they're at that age. Like they don't understand. I mean, well, they do now, the difference between debit cards, credit cards, and they should know that at their age.
Right.
You know, and I asked them, I was like, what do you think happens when we give the bank all this money? You know, they had a couple $100s, and we're like, what do you think happens with that money? What does the bank do? And they're like, well, the bank, you know, they hold the money for you. And I'm like, no, the bank doesn't have your money. As soon as you give them the money, the bank lends your money out to other people.
Right.
And now if you ask our kids, they'll tell you exactly what happens. They're like, where's your money? They're like, well, the bank doesn't have it. The bank lends the money to other people so that other people pay the bank interest so that they can make money using your money. Right. And then they pay you a tiny bit of interest, but they keep the majority of the interest that they made off of the other person. Yep. That's how the banks make their money.
Yeah. And we also have talked to them about assets and liability, using credit cards, interest rates, all of that.
And I talked to them about what is money, and like the thought of what money actually is. I'm like, look at this piece of paper. Like, can you eat this? Like, is this good for anything actually? No, you can't do anything with this. This is just a representation of money, of currency. Right. I was like, and it's just a tool, is what I told them. I was like, it's just a tool. It's a game that you have to figure out how to play. Having more money, all that does is give you more options to be able to do different things. If you want to go to a nicer school, or you want to buy a nicer car, or you want to live in a nicer neighborhood, that's all that money does. It gives you the option to do different things, you know?
Right.
And it's stuff that they have to learn, you know?
Right.
They have to understand that.
And that's not a one-time conversation to have, by the way.
It's constant, yeah.
Right. And because the older they get, the more they'll understand, the more questions they'll start to ask.
And not only that, but having them understand that they don't want to be the ones paying interest. Like when the bank lends your money out and somebody else is paying interest and the bank is making money, you don't want to be that person unless you're using it as a business and you're making money with that money.
Right, right.
Or making more than what you're paying in interest. Then it's okay.
Right.
And you got to get to a certain point where you think that way, because for a while, even when we're getting out of debt, we didn't think that way. Yes. But little by little things change, right?
Right.
But for them to also think about the other way, like you want to be the one that's earning interest, that's getting paid interest, not paying it out.
Right.
And as 10 and 12-year-olds, they're already starting to think that way, which is different.
Right.
You know, which is something they should teach in schools.
For sure.
Holy shit.
Yes.
I mean,
that's what they're lacking. You know,
I don't even want to get into that because I'm going to get pissed off.
If okay, just say once they graduate, and if we were just to set them on their own, just with the knowledge that they learned,
they
in
would
school,
die. They would die. They would fucking die. Tell me that they're getting them prepared for life. Fuck no.
But yeah,
they'd be in debt. They'd be
the only class I remember that prepared me to live on my own was home ec.
Yeah, and they'd be making fucking
cook,
toast. They'd
how
be
to
making
sew a pillow, how to
just getting you ready to be homeless. That's what they're doing.
Oh my goodness.
But it's true, right? I mean, they got to know that stuff. And the crazy thing is that most adults don't realize what happens with money, like what money actually is.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, where did I learn about money? Well, I knew for one, I learned some things from my mom, like with the whole bank account, how to balance a checkbook, all of that. My mom, she was on top of her stuff with me, right? She didn't do the same with the other kids, but because she wasn't old enough, she didn't, it's like you can only do the best with what you know.
Right. Yeah.
And some things you just don't know. And so with me, I was always that kid. I remember I always hung out with people that knew more than me, that had more than me. And I was never embarrassed to ask questions.
It's like you were a kid that like you could tell that they had something going on. It's like this person's got something going on. I want to see what they're like. You're kind of curious.
Yes. I mean,
like it seems like they have it together. I want to see what's up.
Yeah. And that's what it was.
I used to be that way too.
Curiosity it really is piquing their curiosity so that they want to learn more.
Yeah.
And letting them know that asking questions is okay. Like if you don't understand what's going on in class, like raise your hand. Yeah. Most kids are too intimidated because they don't want all the eyes on them. So that's something too that we need to talk to them more about. And I know I talk to them about being able to laugh at themselves when they make a mistake. Like you are going to be bad before you're good, and you got to be okay with that. But most adults are not okay with that. And that's why we don't step out of our comfort zone at times, because we're scared of how we're going to look to other people. Yeah. Like if we're going to start this new business, what if we fail?
And that's where the growth happens.
Yes. But too, like, it's like, okay, am I practicing what I preach? You know what I'm saying? And for the most part, I have, except for this new thing that I'm looking into. It's scary, and it's probably something I'm supposed to be doing, and that's why there's so much resistance there. But it is. It's like, what if I start this thing and invest all this money and it goes nowhere? But you don't realize that everything within that journey you're going to learn from, whether good, bad, or ugly, right? It's stuff that you're going to learn.
It's kind of like one of those things, like what if it turns out like perceivably to be a waste of money, but you don't know that, because what if 2 years down the road, like, that nothing happened with that, but what if you use that information just like we have in everything else towards something else that really makes a big difference? And it's like, well, now can you say that was a waste? Not really. And
I think that too, the kids, speaking with your kids, like talking to them about mistakes that you did growing up, as a kid or as a teenager, and letting them know how you were able to overcome those challenges. Because as a kid, when they look at us as if we are
it's like the Wizard of Oz, right?
Right. Like we
got it going
wrong.
on.
We know exactly what we're doing, and failure is not something that we do. So, or that, that's possible for, right? Because that's how they see us, as a superhero. But if you sit with them and you really talk to them and get to their level, and I don't care what it is, with Adriana, she's 12 years old. She's about to be 13. We're going to have an actual teenager aside from our 16-year-old, and it's like being able to share those things, share my mistakes with her. Like, at your age, I did this. And because I did this, this is what happened. Like, really getting down and connecting to your children so that they can see you, as a human being with feelings.
That makes mistakes.
Right.
I remember when I started investing in crypto before it took a giant shit.
Have you talked to the kids
I
about
did.
that?
I remember talking
Okay.
to Joe about it, and I was like, hey, or maybe Joe or Audrey, I can't remember. But it was one of those things like, yeah, daddy's learning some lessons right now. You know, like, shit,
Yeah.
we lost a crap ton of money.
You know,
but it's all right.
Yeah, but it's not like you did it with money that we needed to survive. And that's stuff that you need to talk to them about as well.
And you know what? That's another thing with the bank accounts and everything is like changing their mindset, because to me now at this point in our life, it sounds crazy to me to like spend everything. But people do that. Like living paycheck to paycheck, like spending everything.
That's so
everything
scary to me.
Like I can't imagine doing that. Like to where I don't even have
money for
a
gas.
stash. No, I'm not even talking about gas. I'm talking about a stash to try to do something.
Oh.
You know, at the very minimum, I need a fucking stash of money to try to fucking do something, anything. That at least that little stash of money gives me some fucking hope.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I can't, like, fuck it, let's go on vacation, you know, get rich. And then you come back and you look at your bank account and you're like, you can't go grocery shopping.
Or when, you know, they take a vacation or they buy a new diamond ring, right? Or whatever it may be, and knowing that you don't have the cash for it.
Yeah.
And you throw it on a credit card and decide, well, I'll make payments.
And that's one of the conversations that I had with the kids when I took them to go open up those bank accounts or deposit their money. And I had them do everything. Like we went to the bank and I gave them their money. I'm like, look, this is your money. You need to talk to the teller, give her your account number, tell her that you want to do what. And they're like, well, deposit, because we're putting money in. Right. Withdrawing is pulling money out. So like I had them talk to the teller, like, you do everything. Don't talk to me, talk to her. And but what was I getting into before that? Damn it.
Man, I don't know. But what I was going to share with you is that we're talking as if we are experts on all of this. The only reason why we know so much about what we're sharing is because we screwed some things up. I mean, when you and I got together, you didn't have the best credit score. You know, do you recall putting stuff on credit? Because we talk as if we never made any mistakes.
No, we did make some mistakes, but our thought process has always been a little bit different. It wasn't like we because I
remember we racked up some credit cards when things were tough.
But it was never like insanely out of hand.
Right.
I mean, it was a few grand, maybe like 15, 20 grand at the most at a certain point, aside from the cars maybe. Mm-hmm. And then we paid everything off.
You know what's so crazy?
What I was gonna say before was with the kids, when we were putting money into the bank, I had talked to them about spending all of their money. You know, and I was like, when is it okay? Like, is it okay to spend, like, if you have $300 in your bank account and you want a new transformer or a new toy or whatever, and it's $295, is it okay for you to spend all that money? And, you know, we were kind of going back and forth. It's like, dude, if you spend all that money, the only thing you can do now is work to make more money.
Right.
I was like, if you at least have $100 or a little stash, you can use that to try to make more money. It just gives you more options, like I was saying before.
Right. Hey, do you ever feel that the decisions that you've made with money and just staying on that path, that the underlying emotion that you were working from was fear? The fear of not having, the fear of being broke?
I don't know. I don't think it's a fear of not having, because my thought has always been like, we can make more money. What the
I told you to throw the cat out. Anyways, but I asked you that question because I'm thinking back to when I was on my own and I didn't have anyone to help me pay my bills, to pay my mortgage, to make my car payment. You know what I'm saying? And so I always made sure that I had more than what I needed. And it was because of the fear that little girl when growing up and not having. And I never wanted to not know if I had enough to buy the things that I need, like food or, my mortgage. Like, fear is what got me to stay debt free. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like fear can also be
A motivator.
Yes.
But you know what? I think it's changed over the years, because I think that there was some of that. It's like I knew that if we let things rack up too much, it could get out of hand. And I've seen what happens when it gets out of hand. You know what I mean? So maybe that's the fear that you're kind of talking about. But as our thought process has changed about money over the years, it's not that anymore.
Right. Because we've grown.
Now, it's not really a fear. I don't have a fear about money, because like we talked about, I don't know, a few podcasts ago, like we were talking about the crypto and how that took a shit. And, it's been horrible for anybody that's been investing in crypto over the last few months. Since the beginning of this year, it fucking sucks, especially if you have a good amount of money in there.
Yes.
But like I said in one of our other episodes, it almost like to me doesn't matter. That's one thing of many things that we're going to use to make money.
Right.
So we could like scratch crypto altogether. We have Trust Inc. We have the podcast. We're going to start Turo. We're going to start other shit.
Right.
So that's just one. The thought now is I don't want to not have money when I need money to do something. And that's kind of my thought. It's not a fear thing, but it's like I can't spend all my money, because if something comes up, I need to have it to take advantage of the opportunity.
Right.
And that's kind of what I'm telling the kids. Like, money is a tool.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Money is not going to make you happy. Money is not going to solve all your problems. It can solve a lot of problems.
Look, perfect example. The way we're getting into Turo. The way we may be getting into Turo.
Mm-hmm.
We have somebody that called us with an opportunity. Guess what you need for that opportunity? Money in the bank. Mm-hmm. If you don't have it, it's probably not going to happen.
Right.
And that's why in my head is like, well, we got to keep a little bag of money. And that's why I tell the kids too, you can't spend all of it. You got to have at least enough to go buy more candy.
Right. Parenting for me, and I'm sure for you as well, it's like you never know. Like, you're doing the best that you can. And for me, I leave the rest in God's hand, right? God's hands. Like, I'm just like, this is what I'm teaching them, everything that I know. We continue to read books. We continue to educate ourselves. We continue to course correct. Yeah. We apologize when we're wrong, and our kids are still little. Audrey is becoming a teenager. So I know that there's going to be some hard times coming, because the way kids learn is by making mistakes. Yeah. But being that parent, right? Ooh, I can only imagine. Being that parent, like, I can't imagine how hard it's going to be to see Adriana make the mistakes, allowing her to make the mistakes, and being on the sideline to witness it, because she's not. I'm giving her advice. We're giving her advice. Yeah. We're talking to her about our mistakes, but the kids are still going to do what they want to do.
This is the thing, is like, I don't think that it's that parent, like you said, like that being that parent. I think it's almost every parent.
Yes.
Because I mean, from the time they're babies, you don't want them to fall. You don't want that. Like, we're watching everything that they're doing and trying to keep them from making every mistake possible.
Right. But
I think that's every parent almost. Right. But that's how they learn.
You have to allow them. So we're a part of this group on Facebook, and it's called Parents of Teenagers. It's a support group. And there's a little girl who has a large bottle of juice, grape juice.
Yeah.
And the message, the post says, I love this. She just keeps trying. We need to remember to do this with our teens. Let them make poor decisions without us blowing up at them, so they can then feel confident and safe to make better choices in their future, be it drugs, angry reactions to situations. Let's remember they don't have the skills to make perfect decisions yet. And this little, what is she, 18 months or so?
Yeah, she's like,
is serving herself a grape juice. And the grape juice is full to the top. So it's heavy.
It's a full bottle of grape juice.
And I'm watching her spill this grape juice everywhere. And I'm like,
you're having a heart attack.
Because I'm thinking of my floor, the sticky floor. I'm thinking of the table. I'm thinking of, oh my God, kind of, right?
It's not like a personal bottle of grape juice.
No,
it's a family grape. It's like 1.5 liters.
She pours this entire gallon.
bottle,
it's like a half a gallon, whatever, everywhere. But she finally gets enough in the cup. And when she gets enough in the cup, she bends over to take a drink, and she starts clapping because she did it.
Yeah. And then she starts doing these little moves. Like, she was so excited.
But that's how it is when you
and there's
are
fucking grape juice everywhere.
Right. That's how it is when you're raising children, though. You know, it's like you have to allow them to become self-sufficient.
I probably wouldn't have done that with a full grape juice bottle.
Right.
I would have waited till it was like half or less full, and then let them fucking pour it all over the place. But that reminds me of this video that I saw, and it was of the astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. And he was talking about that exact thing, about letting kids make mistakes. And it was something about, like, if a kid is playing with an egg, and like, you guys were making breakfast and we have eggs on the counter, and one of the kids picks up an egg, most parents are going to tell the kid, hey, put that down because it's going to fall down, it's going to break, or whatever. If you see a kid playing with an egg in the kitchen, you're going to tell them to put it down before they fucking drop it, and then they're going to have to clean up the mess. Or if they do drop it and they clean up the mess, it's like, what did you do? Weren't you thinking? Don't you know that's an egg?
And we've done stuff like that.
Yeah, we have.
Yep.
But shit, let them break the egg. Let them learn what happens. Like, those are the smallest mistakes that they can make that are okay. Right. Like, there's going to be way bigger mistakes that you want to, like, help them navigate through. But fucking dropping an egg on the kitchen floor or making a mess when they're pouring a fucking glass of grape juice, that might be okay.
Right.
You know? Yeah. But it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to fucking watch them destroy the fucking house. And then you're like, it's okay, baby. Just, did you learn your lesson?
Oh, no, hell no.
You know what?
Destroying
it's like,
the house.
You know what? It's like, did you learn your lesson? Good. Now clean this shit up. You're going to learn a lesson about cleaning today too.
Right. Yeah,
man.
For sure. It's tough being a parent. It's no joke. You know, all you can do is hope and pray and continue to self-educate yourself on, you know, the things that we can do, things that we can change. But at the end of the day, it's up to them. It's up to them. Yeah. You know, the decisions that they make and the actions that they take, it's all up to them. And as long as we know that we did the best that we could with what we know.
Yeah.
We're going to be okay.
I think so far we can feel pretty good that, I mean, even the mistakes that we made, they were made at a time then when we didn't have all the information, or we're still working on stuff just like everybody else, you know. And like you said, we did the best that we could. But like we were talking about earlier, like getting the kids prepared for the future and talking to the kids about everything. Audrey, the other day, we were sitting in here working on something or doing something or whatever. And she asked me a question that kind of caught me by surprise. But she asked me, because of everything that's happening in the world with Russia and the war and just everything all together, because we talk about it between each other. We talk to the kids about it. And she asked me if the country needed it, or if I had to, would I join the military again? And I told her, I was like, you know what? As a young kid, it would have been a lot easier for me to just, like, let's go. When I joined, it was a different time. It was right after 9/11. And I also didn't understand all the way things work in the world. what happened was still bad, and I may have still joined. But at this point in my life and at this point in history, I told her, I was like, I don't think I would join. I wouldn't do it. And if they wanted to join, I may not feel too good about it either. Not with all the other options that are available out there. Now, if something was to happen here and we have to defend ourselves here, you don't have to join the military to do that. You know? And there's a lot of people here that feel the same way, that they would die fighting for what they love and what they believe in here. But I'm not joining the military, and I'm not fighting somebody else's wars for them, because we know what it is. And it's crazy because I had that conversation with Audrey, you know, like about everything that's happened over the pandemic, over the wars, when it comes to money, like all these things, like teaching them how to, it's fucking nuts. Like having to talk to them about how to decipher information. Like
yes.
what is
real,
what is real, what isn't.
Right.
Why, you know, when you hear somebody talking about something that this guy's a bad person in the world because they do this or they do that, I told him, I was like, just understand that you don't always understand the entire picture. That there's always other things that happen that we don't know about that affect these situations, you know?
And that's why it's so confusing, because we don't know the truth anymore.
And that's another reason why I was talking to the kids about, and I was talking to you about, like, preparing for the future. It's like we have some space in the backyard where I was talking to you and talking to Joey about knocking some shit down and maybe putting, you know, working on the little bit of land that we have and starting to grow some shit and teaching Joey to grow some stuff.
Yes.
You know what? This is the thing, is that if it comes down to it, look, if nothing ever happens, we did something great.
Yeah.
We're getting food from our own little garden.
Right.
But if shit hits the fan, we're going to be fucking glad that we had that little garden.
Yeah.
You know, we may have to eat our dogs and our cat, but at least we got some fruits and
with
vegetables.
That, oh my God. He needs me.
Right.
Come on, listeners.
So that we don't
he
eat,
needs me.
so we don't eat the pets.
If Miguel was in his own thoughts every day, he may be in a corner, you know,
and
pulling out his hair.
And Sonja needs me, so we're not in some fucking fantasy land all the time. Everything's going to be great.
Yes, there's sunshine outside. We have the air that we breathe, our lungs.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, there's so much.
I'm like, do you know what the elites are doing to this air?
There's so much beauty in this world. And he's like, we're killing our forest and killing our oceans, and
you just got to be ready. Prepare for everything.
Opposites
you know what?
attract.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, though, I just want to thank everybody. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for sticking with us. I mean, we've been doing this for a little bit of time, and next month is going to be 3 years podcasting. It's freaking crazy. Like I didn't even think about it, like that it was coming up that soon. But we definitely appreciate you guys following us and listening to the show over the last few years, and it's only going to get better, right?
Yes. Thank you guys for your love. Thank you for your support, and thank you for watching Opposites Attract podcast,
where we get better
together.
Bye.
Bye.